So we got Nathan as our guest tonight. Nathan reached out to me and was like, hey, man, like your podcast, like what you guys are doing. He goes, I'm doing the dirt stuff. And he told me like where he was at and what he was doing. I was like, dude, that sounds awesome. Tracy and I, from time to time, dabble in dirt, kind of, hot and cold spells, dabbling in dirt. And we like it. And that really interested me. And really, I was telling somebody else that I was talking to about like my thought for the podcast and kind of me and Tracy's vision for it was like, this is a podcast by iRacers for iRacers. It's for the community by the community. And so like, and I was telling Nathan earlier, and we were chit chatting in pre-production that like, I was glad he reached out to me because we raced top split on the asphalt oval side. So we know all the top split guys, and then we had no pride. Tommy on, he's our buddy. Most people would tell that we were joking with him because we know each other. We race on the track all the time. But I love Nathan reaching out to me because we don't race in top split and dirt. And so we don't know a lot of those guys. So I was happy. Like when Nathan, I was like, yeah, Nathan, I'll have you on like ASAP. Can you do this Sunday? He's like, yeah, we're coming. We'll hurry back from vacation. We can do it. And I'm thinking, well,
leave early.
Yeah, you don't need to hurry for this podcast, but I appreciate it. So appreciate Nathan being on. And I'm going to swing and turn everything over to Tracy right now. Tracy, this is your segment, man. You do it every week, and everybody's starting to get to know it. So I'm shooting it all over to you.
All right. Well, first off, let's give him a formal introduction, right? We have Nathan Waddell with us tonight, okay? He's a dirt oval guy. We're going to talk with him a little bit, find out what his history is, what he likes, what's hot, what's not, that kind of stuff. You can hear it from the man himself. And we'll run him through our normal weekly segment of the face that runs the place. So welcome aboard. Thanks for coming, Nathan. We'll probably beat that to death. We really appreciate you being here at the Alien Factory.
Yes,
Thank you so much. And so you're a dirt guy, and all I'd like to know is start from the beginning. How did you get involved in racing, whether it be sim racing or any other type of racing you may do? What was your first set of pedals and wheels? It's basically, what do you want people to know about you? Let us know, where are you from? What kind of activities do you do? The whole shoot match, and have at it.
Well, if we start from the very beginning, I've been around racing my whole life, man. My dad has been around racing his whole life, so naturally, whenever I was born,
Now, is this dirt racing or asphalt?
Dirt racing, yes,
okay,
yes.
Okay.
So there was two main tracks around where we're from. There was the now no longer active Green Valley Speedway, and then Talladega Short Track, which is a mile down the road from the Super Speedway, and we went to both. Just about weekly. I think, if I remember correctly, Green Valley ran Friday nights and Talladega Short Track ran Saturday nights. And I was around that my whole life. My dad tells me that, I don't really remember it, but my dad tells me that I was the only kid who ever really paid attention to the racing as opposed to just hanging out with the other kids. Right. Which I did do. Don't get me wrong. I did do my fair amount of that, but I did enjoy watching it. So I've always been interested in dirt track racing and in NASCAR too, but mainly dirt track racing, man. And so whenever I was 7 years old, we got a miniature late model is what they called them, mini late models. So if you've ever seen a dirt late model, I'm sure you guys have, being on iRacing, but for the people that haven't ever seen a dirt late model, just look up a dirt late model, and then a smaller version of that is what I ran. It had its own chassis, a 5.5 horsepower Honda engine, and I was wheeling that thing at 7 years old, man. Won the championship my first year, won every race, and got tired of it. And so I kind of got out of racing. I wasn't really into it. I got other hobbies and stuff as I, was like 9, 10 years old, 11. But eventually I found my way back to the track. About 16 or 17 years old, I started going back to Talladega Short Track, hanging out with my cousin's dad. Ran the super late models at Talladega Short Track. Went with him and hung out with all those guys. Ever since I started going back as more of a teen and an adult, now I've been wanting to do it. In real life, been wanting to get my chance to race in real life, and it's expensive, man. I mean, that was part of the reason why we got out whenever I was little, was just because it was getting expensive and I was getting tired of it. But especially at the full size level, it's very expensive. And so it was just kind of one of them things I always wanted to do, but I was like, who knows whenever it'll happen. And whenever I saw iRacing announce dirt, I was like, man, that would be dope. I would love to do that. And I'd seen iRacing. I played all the NASCAR games, on PlayStation. But whenever I think NASCAR Heat 2 came out with dirt, I was like, I tried it and it was awful. I hated it. So I was like, whatever, And iRacing announced dirt, and I was like, man, that would be cool to try. Like I'd like to see if I could do that. And so I never got a PC. I never got the wheel and pedals, but I kept my eye on it. I was like, I'd like to try this. I don't know if you guys know of Hobbo88 on YouTube.
Yes. Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Hobbo88, man, he was my guy. I lived through him almost. Like I watched his videos.
Yes.
Every time he uploaded a dirt video.
Yes.
I was like, man, if I could just try this, if I could just
and he made it look easy, didn't he?
He did. He didn't run me any officials. He didn't ever go for pro, but like he did. I can recognize the names now. He ran against a lot of very informative guy. And I loved watching. I basically, like I said, I lived through him. Like I was like, I want to do this. Like I would watch Hobbo, and his name's Brenton. I would watch Brenton, and I'd be like, man, if I could just try this, I think I'd be all right at it. Well, whenever we got the stimulus money, I was able to finally afford a PC. And then, me and my wife got full-time jobs after we finally graduated college. I was finally able to buy a used T150 Thrustmaster wheel and pedals.
Is that what you're on now?
I am still using the T150 wheel. I have upgraded the pedals, but I still use this used wheel. And man, it's pretty neat to have watched Hobbo and other YouTubers back in the day and think, I was always like, man, if I could just try, I think I'd be all right at it. I didn't ever really expect to be at the level that I'm at now. And there's a lot of people to thank for that. But, watching Hobbo and all that, like it's pretty cool to be able to be at the level that I'm at, from watching them. And like I've said to a lot of people, I really want to do this in real life, but iRacing just kind of scratches the itch for now. I still would love to do this in real life.
Nothing like the smell of the engines and the fumes and the tires and all that. Yeah, no, I get it. Yep. I
love going to the dirt track. I love going to the dirt track. I'm like, man, like I hadn't went in a couple of months or so, and then I go and I leave all frustrated that like I'm not out there doing it, because I watch similar to how it was whenever I was watching people do dirt on iRacing. I go there and I watch them, and I'm like, man, if I could just get my shot, I think I'd be all right at this. Like I think I could compete. I'm a very competitive person. I think that I could go out there and compete with anybody if you just give me a chance. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now, where I'm like, I can do it now on iRacing, and it's scratching the itch. But hopefully, I set a goal, and I don't know if I'm going to hit it. I'm 26, about to turn 27. My goal is that I have a car by the time I'm 30. So.
Yeah, but man, you think saving up for your PC and your racing wheel was expensive? Yeah, can't wait till you get to buy a real car.
That was before. I had my degree and I had a full-time job.
I'm with you.
But it's still going to be very tough. I'm going to have to have a lot of things go my way.
I'll tell you from personal experience. So I had that exact same wheel you have that you started out with was my first force feedback wheel when I started back in the sim racing several years ago. Yeah. But I had the Xbox version. It's called TMX, but same wheel. And that's what Brian just upgraded from. And he got that CSLDD. Oh man. Oh geez. Like it's such a big upgrade. Oh my goodness.
Whenever, this was like early 2020, I just started sort of assimilating with the dirt oval community itself. I mean, I'd been running the races, I'd been on iRacing for a couple of months at the time, but I finally started assimilating with the community, and I was able to start hanging out with some of the pros, and they would tell me, man, they were like, man, if you just got a better set of pedals, I think you could really be a force. So I got the good pedals. I think I got the pedals whenever I had already gotten up to about 4,500 iRating, and I finally got the new pedals, and that was really
Nice.
that's a kicker. But the next, I'm trying to decide whether I want my next upgrade to be the wheel or the monitor. You know,
Ooh.
I don't know. They're both about the same. Maybe the monitor, like I already have a good monitor. I'm just trying to decide if I want to get
A better
even
monitor.
better. I mean, y'all are talking this Logitech, or not Logitech, the Samsung
Samsung, yeah.
monitor
49.
up.
Yep.
Yeah,
4
you're
feet
talking it
wide,
up
man.
so much. Yeah, I know. That's like 4 feet and 1 inch. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to decide if I want to do that. Which that's actually a very expensive monitor, but either that or triples or a better wheel. But another thing that I'm trying to take into consideration is I don't really want to change up too much before this pro qualifier series. I don't know,
Sure.
what I'm wanting to do for that, but I definitely do want to make an upgrade. I have the funds to make an upgrade. It's just trying to decide what I want to do.
So me and Tracy need some help, Nathan. We as we dabble in dirt, we struggle, and it's pretty sad. Sometimes,
Right.
especially I don't want to speak for Tracy. I'll speak for myself. It's pretty sad.
Okay.
And, I usually dabble in the sprint cars only because that's the one I'm the best in. Like I'm actually do fairly decent in like low and middle splits. Fairly decent 360s, 305 stuff. But I seem to really suck at the late, like at the late model stuff, late model, super late model, any of that stuff, like bad. And so
Right.
like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm pretty successful in everything else I do, but I'm struggling there. You got anything, pointers or tips short of watching me drive?
I mean, late models on iRacing are I think a little inaccurate in one major part, or one minor part, and that's on exit, the car tends to like want to kick to the right, like the front end wants to push right. It's weird, but that's one huge thing to learn, to just predict and be able to make the input adjustments beforehand to keep it from happening and to keep your momentum built up. Limiteds, if you run limiteds, it's all about momentum. They have such little power that you got to just keep them built up with momentum. As you go up from limited to pro to super, they take less steering input and less throttle input to get the car to rotate to go into the corner. So you want the car to rotate and break traction a little bit. Like a sprint car can break traction on its own. It's going to have that down force from the wings to just kind of plant it to the surface. And if it kicks out on its own, that's fine. With a late model, you kind of want to break it loose a little bit to get it to set into the corner. So you're going to like give it a lot of throttle and a lot of like steering input, steering to the left, right? And then as soon as it breaks and you feel it start to rotate a little bit, you're going to let off a little bit, which it depends on, limited pro or super, but you let off a little bit and start counter steering to the right just a little bit and let it roll through the corner as straight as possible after you get it to rotate. Because if you don't get it to rotate enough, it's just going to push right through. So
Right.
For practice, you try, the corner and if it pushes and it doesn't turn enough, you just got to, drive it in harder for it to rotate. And then if you get it to rotate and it over rotates, okay, then you got to let off a little bit of throttle or,
Yeah.
it happens. I see a lot of the people that don't run them a lot. That's their problem, is that they just tend to, my main thing that I always preach is to be proactive instead of reactive. And that's the thing with dirt cars, is if you're reactive with everything that's going on, you're going to be all over the place and you're going to be slow. So being proactive just kind of comes with time and just knowledge. So if you know that as soon as the car breaks loose, and you can be proactive to go ahead and start counter steering to the right, letting off the throttle a little bit and rolling through the corner, and then being proactive with, like I said, whenever in a late model, it kind of tries to push the nose out as soon as you're exiting corner. You be proactive a little bit with that. The main thing, with corner exit, especially in pros and supers, is you don't want to be full throttle until you're pointed. You really don't want to be full throttle hardly at all, but you really don't want to be getting really hard onto the throttle until your nose is pointed exactly where you need to be going coming out of the corner. That's the main thing with those, is that you really want to try to keep the car as straight as possible, but entry, break it loose just a tad, get it to set, and by set you just kind of feel it. You feel it in the wheel. It'll get a little bit easy. The wheel will get a little loose, and you just counter steer to the right just a little bit. Keep the throttle as smooth and as steady as possible. You roll through the corner straight on exit. Be prepared for that little bit of, which open setup can kind of counteract that push to the right with the nose, but be prepared for that. Roll, straighten the wheel up and roll into the throttle whenever the car is pointed in the correct direction to exit. And it all, it's tough to give advice on late models because or anything dirt, because the track can be different,
Sure.
whether it's slick
all the track state
or tacky.
throughout the race too.
I mean, the main things are to avoid the slick. I mean, just track wise, the main things are to avoid the slick. I mean, avoid the slick and try to keep it as straight as possible
now,
wherever you're at.
The slick would be the built up asphalt that's on the hard part of the surface, I guess. Is that what you're saying the slick is?
Not asphalt, but it's the packed down dirt. The fluff is what you're trying to get into where there's grip, Scotty.
Yeah.
And the packed down dirt the fluff is where the traction's at. The packed down dirt where you kick the dirt up the track, and then what's left, it's packed down harder. That's the slick. Is that about right?
That's the slick.
There's three things that you'll see on a dirt track. You'll see the good, really nice brown dirt.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see the black slick. That's not where you want to be. And then you'll see the dark brown marbles. I mean, that's kind of iffy. The main thing is you want to be in the light brown. That's where you want. You want to be there for as long as you can until there's none of it left. And then once
then it gets a little wild, doesn't it?
Then it gets very wild. Whenever there's no real, light brown left and it's all slick, it all breaks loose right then. I mean, that's whenever it gets really fun, because then you can still run right around the cushion, right on the top. It's very hard. Like that's one of the, like I was telling you about Cedar Lake whenever I ran this week. I mean, that's what happened with the guy that was running second that was in front of me. Was he was running right up on the cushion on the wall, and it just kind of got away from him. He was just it just got away from him, and there was nothing you can really do at that point whenever he's losing it right in front of me. But then, if the whole track is slick and you got to line up on the cushion, you can roll right through the center. If you're that, I mean, that is really tough to do though, whenever it's very slick and there's nowhere else to go and you're just trying to roll through the center on a track that's dead slick. You got to, I mean, it's so minute with the wheel inputs. The throttle is like, if it moves from here, I'm going around. Like you're like trying to keep that throttle. So if you could see it on a telemetry, it's like at 50, or 60 or whatever it's at. You want it so smooth. I mean, it's hard to do.
Let me ask you this. How did you go about training yourself, or what would you tell somebody like Mike and I? Okay, so we want to train, right? Well, obviously to throw us in an open is probably going to be a waste of time. So how would we learn to drive those cars responsibly so we could be faster? What would you suggest? Obviously the fixed series, but what do we do? I mean, when we roll out on the track, what do you tell somebody?
Follow me. No.
Well, and let me,
it's kind of true. I mean, let
me expand on that a little bit. I found in dirt that my hand speed is a little bit slow. Actually, it's a lot slow. So I have a hard time saving the car, especially in the late models, super late models and stuff, where you got to really, when the car gets sideways and you try to save it, I'm trying to go lock to lock, and my arms are flying all over the place.
Yeah.
So I do some creative mathematics in iRacing to help with that. But, to boost up the steering for me so I don't have to be flicking the car left and right, it actually does it for me and with my slow hand speed. But, so that's the only thing that ever saved me, even in sprint cars. It was just boosting the steering up as fast as it'll go. And but like for me with the throttle control you were talking about, and that kind of stuff, that would be, how do you develop? I mean, repetition, that kind of stuff, muscle memory, if that's what you want to say.
It is a lot of repetition, a lot of practice, a lot of muscle memory. If you could watch my wheel in the middle of any race, you would honestly probably be pretty surprised with how little I'm moving it. I mean, on entry, I'm pulling it to the left a little bit, and then I'm pulling it right back to the center, maybe a little bit left, a little bit right, depending on what the car is doing. All that I learned that from other people. I didn't come up with it on my own. I started just like anybody else, and I was like expecting to be pretty good at it, and I was wondering, what the heck am I doing wrong? Why am I so slow? So I got to talking to people. I started watching videos. I saw how little other people moved their wheel and how steady whenever I first started, my throttle was going all over the place. It was up and down, up and down. Yep. Matt stabbing the brakes to get the car to rotate. You don't got to do that in dirt oval. So the way that I learned all that was from watching other people, watching people who were good.
Now you say watching as in watching on Twitch? Or how did you go about
at the time? No, it was probably watching, like we were talking about Habo 88. I was watching him.
That was good stuff.
That was old tire model. The late models have got a new tire model, which to me makes throttle control and steering input even more crucial. But at the time, whenever I was getting good on my own, or becoming good, still climbing and getting better, that was Habo was the one that I really watched a lot to get good. And then once the new tire model came out, and like I said, the throttle control and the steering input was much more crucial, I kind of knew that. I could tell that it was much more crucial, and so I just kind of applied what I knew from the old tire model and just kind of enforced it even more so on this new tire model.
Okay.
So watching people, if I could shout somebody out right now, it would be Justin Norwood Sim Sports. He streams on Facebook. If you can watch people in VR, then that's the guy. If you can't watch someone in VR, Twitch, Jesse Enterkin Hunt the Front. He's very, very good.
Yep, I follow those guys.
Jesse Enterkin, he's very good on the dirt oval side of things. He was one that I kind of watched a lot whenever I was after I had gotten decent, but I was still, like I was saying earlier, I was kind of integrating with or becoming more into the dirt oval community. He was one that I started to watch and learn from. Cody Sieber, another VR guy. But just, the main thing is to watch the people that are good, and joining a team was huge too. Joining a team can really bring you to a higher level if you join the right team.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed this short clip from our Alien Factory podcast. Be sure to check us out every Sunday night at 10 p.m. Eastern time here on our YouTube channel. That is youtube.com/Area 51 Alien Factory. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you have not subscribed yet. We really appreciate your subscription to the channel. Also, if you really want to help the channel out, the best thing you can do is share this video anywhere you can, on Facebook, on Twitter, Discord, anywhere that you can share the video. We'd appreciate it. That's really going to help our channel out. Also, get down to the bottom and you can check out the description below. There's some promo codes and affiliate links down there and different things down in the description. So don't forget to get on and check that out. And if you would like to get notified anytime that we go live with either our podcast, live streaming races, or when we upload any of our great on-demand content series here on the channel, just hit that bell icon down below and you will get notified anytime that new content comes up on the channel. We appreciate you sticking with us this video. And as always, we will see you in the next one.